Welcome to BCIU University, our first edition. First thing I want to tell you guys is that I consider this to be a safe zone. I mean, this is for us to learn from each other. It's for us to really speak bluntly and honestly, and it's a safe zone. If you have a question that you think is dumb, ask it. Nobody's making fun. Not just here to learn from me, you're here to learn from each other. Asking questions is really imperative to what we're doing. Okay, so today's is just a basic overview of the website, what search engine optimization is, really just some real basic things so that you can learn about, that we're just all starting from a basic point. Because I assume you guys know stuff that you may not know, and so if it's dumbed down, great, you're just kind of reinforcing. If it's not dumbed down, then great, you're learning, hopefully. So one thing I really wanted to tell you guys is a little bit about me, because I don't think a lot of you guys know anything about me and my background. So when I was 12, I delivered the Rapid City Journal, which was my hometown paper. Went to school for journalism, got a degree in photojournalism, worked in about 5 papers. Took some of the first, we called it electronic photojournalism classes at the time. Now it's just journalism. But, and so was one of the first people to go to school with that kind of coursework involved. And so I quickly went from photographer, assistant photo editor, multimedia editor, online editor, AME, and then managing editor at my last job before I left. And to me, I am still that 12-year-old kid, because what I do every day is deliver the news. And that is the most important part of what I do at my job. So just so you guys kind of know where I come from on that, I still think delivering the news is the most important thing that we do. And that's what, this first semester of BCIU is going to be about. So we are doing a year of BCIU. The first semester is going to be predominantly me speaking a lot. You guys will be sick of my voice. The second semester or the third semester, we haven't really nailed this out yet. One will be Amy and Sue talking about, writing techniques, narrative, whatever they decide is most important for you guys to learn. And then one semester will be each of you will have to host a class talking about something that you're an expert in. So it's actually pretty fun to learn from everybody about what everybody knows. So question number 1, what is the most popular online activity that people do? And like I said, we're all talking here. Porn is not on the list. I'm sure it's up there, but it's not on my list. So guesses?
Watching video.
Anybody else?
Facebook.
Yeah, social media.
Okay, very good. Social media is by far and away number 1. People spend about 37 minutes a day doing social media. Email's number 2, video is number 3. 3 years ago, email ruled the day, killed everything else. In the last 3 years, you can see that's dramatically changed. Video will probably overtake email soon. And you can see newspapers trend on here. We're pretty low, but we're on there. And, the up-and-comer right now actually are messaging apps, like WhatsApp. Peach, if you're on there, they launched last week. I'm kind of falling in love with Peach. It's another social networking messaging app. But messaging apps are probably going to get up to there about video. So kind of interesting to see how people spend their day online. So now we're just going to move into, like I said, we're just kind of hitting a lot of topics here at once to give you guys an overview of what we are and what we do. Search engine optimization, we talk about this a lot. A lot of people don't know what the hell it means. So SEO does stand for search engine optimization, and it's how people find our content on search engines. And so Google's king across the board. Bing and Yahoo are second and third. And last year alone, Google referrals accounted for 26% of the traffic to the Durango Herald. So if you think search engine optimization is not important, you're wrong.
And here's a dumb one for you. When you say referral, does that mean somebody goes onto Google, searches for something, and it comes up with a Durango Herald?
It doesn't just mean it comes up with a Durango Herald book. So it means that they click on it.
That's what I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
It comes up in their search, and that's the one.
Yeah, because there's actually 2 different ways to look at that. For example, Ann, did you write about the Rube Goldberg kids?
Yes.
So we actually trended on Google, I think it was 700 or 900 views for Rube Goldberg last month, but not one of them clicked through. Because they weren't looking for a story about Durango kids. They were looking for Rube Goldberg machines. So the referrals are those people that click through, but we do sometimes trend for things that don't result in anything.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So here's a look at how our traffic broke down last year. We had 3 million page views directly to DurangoHerald.com. We had 2 million from Google. If you can see, mobile Facebook viewers, actually referrals, and those are people that saw a link on Facebook, clicked on it. M.Facebook means mobile Facebook. Double the traffic. Actually, it's a little more than double, I think, of regular Facebook users. So that's a big deal for us. Then you can see Facebook, Bing, Yahoo, and then our daily headlines actually trend up there a little bit as referrals. So that's good, and hopefully we grow that with us redoing the newsletter. So speaking of search engine optimization, a lot of people talk about the Google spider and the Google crawl, and nobody knows what the heck it is. It's not really this cute clip art that I pulled, but I like the cute clip art. So what the Google spider is it's this really complex algorithm, which I am not a math nerd, but it is a very complex math problem that takes about 300 parameters and goes through thousands, millions, probably billions of web pages and indexes them. And basically it pings these web pages constantly. So our site gets crawled about every 5 to 10 minutes by the Google spider. Bing and Yahoo also have these things, but we saw traffic from Google is more important, so we look at the Google algorithm. The bummer about the Google algorithm is that they have a team that is working on it every day. They change it every day. So you can't really look at all 300 things constantly. A little bit of a side note, there's also a Facebook algorithm. I don't know how much you guys follow these things, but they recently tweaked it on the Facebook algorithm where they give news sites priority. And so news sites show up more in feeds. They did the quick articles, which load faster on Facebook. That's part of their algorithm. And so these algorithms are really important because they affect how our stuff shows up when people search or when they're on Facebook. So there's 300 things. We can't do all of them. Why do we want to know about this, and how, why do we care? So really, I have 10 things. There's actually 11, and we're going to dive into later that the Google spider looks at that's important to us as a news site. One is the authority of the website, and that it takes into consideration things about how long it's been around, how close it is to things, and I'll get into this later, but how we trend for Animasville because we're close to it. So we trend a little bit better than the San Francisco Chronicle, who had stories about the Animasville. Even though they're bigger and they have more traffic, which is something else the Google crawl looks at, we trend more because we're closer to it. And so they look at the authority, and that's also a lot of things that look into that. Headlines, and so we'll have a whole session on search engine optimized headlines and how to write them and why they're important, but that's a big thing they look at. The length of articles, so a lot of people create these web pages and they'll basically stuff them, and they'll have thousands of one-sentence articles. Google will look at that and be like, that is a spam site. Whereas they'll look at the Herald or DGO and say, oh, they have, the Herald probably has, hundreds of thousands of articles that are all of decent length. And they'll say, oh, well, they're obviously a real website, they're an authority, they're writing in depth. And the other thing they look at now more than ever is multimedia components, and that's predominantly video, but it's also all of those other online assets that we add, PDFs, charts, etc. So this is a search. I did a search for Animas River, and I think it's hard to see on there. I think we're number 6 down, and so we're beat by 2 CNN stories in Atlantic, Denver Post, Guardian, and then we're right there. I know that probably makes us a little sad because we were definitely the experts on the Animas River spill, but to be able to top really every other national newspaper and news organization with the exception of those 4 is phenomenal for us. Yes?
How do you search Google without it already, knowing where you're coming from and what you might want to see? Are you doing that in your search?
It does different results every time. So log out of your Gmail accounts, and you'll get different search results than you do when you're in your Gmail accounts. And for example, when I was working in Rapid City, our parent company was in Iowa, so our servers were all hosted in Iowa. And so I would get delivered ads for Iowa politics, Iowa companies, and when I searched, I would get different results than if I searched, at my home computer.
It doesn't know what zip code you're coming out of, or
it looks at your server typically,
right.
And so because our server was hosted in Iowa, so.
And I thought I read somewhere that that part of the algorithm is really truly individualizing it for you. So Shane and I sat at the same time at our computers at work and searched the same thing, we would get different results.
Particularly
Is that
if you're
right?
logged into your Gmail account.
Okay.
And if you're looking at Animus Riversville, probably not too different, but yeah, you could get drastically different results because it does. I mean, you see that in the ads that you get all the time. I mean, they're following you. It's following, what you look at and how you do.
I feel so stalked.
So the biggest part about this that I want you guys to show is that, and this is a second search because I couldn't put a heat map on ours, but this is called a heat map, and it shows where people click. Between the first thing that pops up for a search and the thing at the bottom of the page, there's a 10-time page view difference. And so I think, you guys actually know this in your head, but when you Google, let's say Anne's looking for a place to eat dinner. So she's not going to Google the word dinner, right? She's going to Google, let's say she's in Bayfield for a story. Bayfield Burgers, Colorado. And so dinner is what we call a short tail keyword. It's a short description of what you're looking for. Us as users have gotten much smarter over the years, and we're using what are called long tail keywords, where we know what we're looking for. And so we write a search so that it is the first or second thing on search results because we don't want to click through anymore. And frankly, if Anne Googles dinner, burger, Bayfield, Colorado, and she doesn't see what she's doing, she's more likely to do a different search with different words than scroll through the results. And so, and we'll go into this more as we look at search engine optimization, but long tail keywords are really important because of how we as consumers have changed how we look. Does that make sense?
Right.
So site authority, Google looks, I kind of went over this a little bit, looks at how much of an expert we are, determined by proximity to topic, the length of time our website's been active, the quality and quantity of content, incoming and outgoing links. And this is interesting. If you don't know what incoming and outgoing links are, incoming links are different websites that link to our website. So if Adventure Pro links to the Herald, that's an incoming link. Outgoing links are those links that we put on stories that go elsewhere. Not all links are created equal. .gov and .edu links that are coming into our website help us trend better on different algorithms than any other links because it's hard to get those URLs, and they're seen as like the top authority. .gov is the top authority across the board. So there's something called Ad Ranker, and you go in, or Ad Ranker, Page Ranker, sorry, and you can go in and see how much of an authority Google thinks your site is. The Herald's a 5. We should be a 6 or a 7. It's out of 10. Pine River Times is a 4. Journal is a new website, is a 0, as is DGO. And part of that is just waiting for the time and the content to build. Journal, when they combined, they started a new website. DGO is obviously a new website. So you don't have that authority of time, you don't have the authority of content, and we're building that. And so that's just going to come with time, but it is something that we work toward. Go for it.
You say we should be a 6 or a 7.
What determines that?
Well, yeah. What aren't we doing that
I
we
could
should be?
totally nerd out. So a lot of it is what we're going to go through. These search engine
Okay.
optimization headlines. We're really going to work on a linking strategy, getting more incoming and outgoing links across the board. The meta tags on our site are terrible, and these are things you can't see, but they're things that the Google crawl looks at. And so I think, like Pine River Times, the first word in their meta tag is local. Amy harps on this all the time. Local means nothing when you're searching. Do you search local restaurants? No, you search Durango restaurants. And our meta tags are pretty bad too on the Herald. And so things like that. There are some things behind the scenes that I'll change, and there are some things outwardly that, like headline writing and linking that we'll learn. But a lot of it is in this BCIU. So that said, I do just want to reiterate, we are still in the news information business. We write for readers. We don't write for computers. We'll make some decisions based on SEO, but we're not going to talk down to our audience just to get an algorithm to look at our site more. All right, so I don't have a clock in here. Does someone have a phone I could glance at?
There's one right over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm on track here. That's all. Thanks. All right, so we're going to go over website analytics and what they mean, just because, like I said, we don't all start at the same spot. And so I want to make sure that we're starting with the same knowledge base. So the page views are the number of views of pages on the website. So if Brandon goes to DurangoHerald.com, that's one website. If he clicks on Ann's story that's going to be done at some point on Ignacio Park Scores, that will count as a second one. If he then goes, sees the Bayfield story there and clicks on Bayfield Scores, that's a third page view. So that session, he saw 3 pages. So during that time, let's say that he spends 30 seconds on the homepage, a minute on the Ignacio Scores, and a minute and a half on the Bayfield Scores. So time spent on site then would be 3 minutes for that session. So he looked at 3 pages and it took him 3 minutes. So that's his time spent on site. Now, unique users, which is actually a dated term, now we call them users, is actually the, and I prefer to call it devices, the number of devices accessing our sites. So you'll see we have, I can't actually remember what our number is for uniques, I'm sorry. But let's say we have 400,000 uniques accessing our site. Is that 400,000 people? We used to call it 400,000 people. I have my iPhone, my iPad, my Kindle, my work computer, my home computer, all of which I access DurangoHerald.com on. So I am not 5 people, I'm 5 devices. So I do prefer to call that number devices, but we call it users in any analytics program anymore. So just so you know what that means when it says users, it doesn't really mean one human. It can. A lot of people only access DurangoHerald.com at work. And so they're probably just one user, but that's not true for everybody.
So that's tracking your IP address to figure that out?
Yep.
So you just get counted once per month or once per day?
Every time you come in, you count.
Okay.
And so, and that's why time on site is per session. So if Brandon looked at those 3 pages today, and then tomorrow he comes and he looks at 2 pages and spends a minute, that averages out to 2 minutes per session. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so which of those analytics are the most important? I say none. Content rules. We want to do a good product. I know I've said that a lot, but I just want to reiterate that what we do is journalism, and this is just a way to enhance how people get our journalism. So our goal is to deliver news in the best way possible, and all of these things just contribute to us delivering the news. So more fun clip art. Want to go a little bit over who our readers are and what they're looking at. So here is a percentage of our total traffic and where they come from. In the last session, David Buck asked a really good question, which is how do we track this? Typically, it's through people that are logged into things like Gmail or Facebook that have tracking systems. However, that said, this is only about 70% of our audience allows us to track them. So these demographics are not 100% of our audience, it's about 70% of our audience. And that's different for different publications. I don't know what it is for DGO. For the 4 TVs, it's about 54% that let us track them. So their stats are less indicative of their audience than ours are at the Herald. But 25% of our readers are from Durango, about 13% from Denver. Los Angeles trends pretty good up there, and then you can see on down. So it's kind of interesting that only about a quarter of our audience is from Durango directly.
Does that include print?
No, I don't have that those analytics. By print, do you mean like the e-edition? Or just print in general?
Print.
Paper.
No, that does not include print. This is all just online. Our readers, and again, this is the 70% that allows us to track them, are majority male. That's actually unusual for a newspaper. Most newspapers are predominantly female audience, and pretty significantly predominantly female. Although somebody in the last meeting brought up that's Durango, there's more men here than women, so.
Yeah.
Traffic by age, and this is again, I think, people talk a lot about how seniors aren't looking online and whatnot. I think you can see here the majority of our audience is 55 up. And so, we do have a lot of older folks or folks that are not considered digital natives. Basically, anybody from this 35 up is not considered a digital native. And that's far and away the bulk of our audience. So don't discount people because they're not digital natives. Like me, not a digital native. All right, these are the browsers they look at: Chrome, Safari, IE, and Firefox. If you've heard me yelling at Brandon, IE is a terrible, terrible program. Please quit using it. As of Monday, they have announced they will no longer support it. And so stop using it if you're using it. Use a different browser. Most people are on Windows, but quite a few are on iOS, and you see Android and Mac up there as well. So you can see from this chart, we have just under 50% over on mobile devices or tablets. Online versus print readers. So about 10 years ago, which is probably the last time any newspaper was willing to pay for a survey, there was about a 5% overlap in your digital and newspaper print audience. I'm guessing that's much, much, much higher now, but nobody pays for those tests anymore, or those reader surveys, so we don't actually know. Like I said, it's typically an older, more engaged audience in print. More engaged, I think, is true. Older, I do not think is true. I think we really underestimate our tech-savvy seniors. And regardless of how much that audience overlaps, there is always a good reason to give people unique online content. Just so you know, these are our stats for last year. We had 3.2 million users, 21 million page views in 2015, and those page views are up 5 million over the year before, if you missed the last week's zone. So that's pretty damn good. This is what our readers look at. Almost 5 million just looking at the homepage. Mobile is number 2, local news, local news. Animus trended quite well there. Search is people searching our website. And this is unusual for a lot of places. Opinion and letters to the editor trend really well online. And David Buck and I are going to look at trying to promote that on social a little bit more because it does quite well. This is the same, I just drilled in a little bit more so you can see how different things trend. Just so you guys know, photo galleries will be much higher in the future. What happens right now is if you go to Sean's photo gallery that has 30 photos and you look at all 30 photos, that's one page view. We are about the only news site that does that. Almost every news site that would be 30 page views. So I expect that number to go up with the website redesign.
Why is opinion and letters to the editor counted as 2 different categories?
Opinion is the homepage, the opinion homepage. It's got all the stuff on in that edit cartoon, and then when they click to the letters to the editor homepage, that's a whole separate view. Does that make sense?
No.
We can drill in more in a little bit. I'll show you with the website. So how do we define online success? It's different for everybody. Some people look at page views, some people look at users, some people look at time spent on site, some people look at how often users return to the website to look at stuff, and some people look at the number of ad impressions. It all depends. For us, it's just good to look at to get a gist of who our audience is. For advertising, it depends on what they want to sell. But for us, it's more just a tool to understand their audience. The redesign is coming soon. It's not coming as soon as I was initially told. I was told it's going to start tomorrow. It will be starting probably at the end of March, early April, although we're doing some basic work right now. And at the very latest, it will launch by the end of the year. There's a ton of web pages on there. There's a ton of work to be done. And we're totally redoing it to be a responsive design. So it's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be well worth it. So with that, a couple of quick things. Next week, we're going to look at social media policy and Facebook. And then, do you guys have any questions?
I have.
Over here.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I do try to look at the metrics at least a couple of times a day, and there's always several things in there that aren't, it just says mobile edition or something, and doesn't tell you specifics. Are we gonna start being able to?
That is actually the mobile website. So that's a mobile homepage.
Okay,
So that is Durango or m.durangoherald.com
okay,
is what that is.
okay.
Do you have thoughts on what our redesign might look like? Because web design, we're many iterations behind web design trends.
Yes, and
are we gonna try to be current, or are we gonna go for the USA Today style?
I made the joke last meeting that we are going to be heavily into 2014. Hold on one second.
At least it's this decade.
It is going to be very Gannett-like, Atlantic-like, responsive design, very visual-driven. Have you guys seen the website that we are working on for Snowdown?
Yeah. You showed it to us.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Okay, that's kind of almost like a prototype that they're using to kind of test some stuff for online. The deal with this is that, and by responsive design, I mean it adapts easily for any platform that you're on. So this is what it looks like on an iPhone or a Droid. This is what it looks like on a tablet, and then this is what it looks like on a homepage. And all of these elements fall in differently depending on what device you're on. And so we're not doing anything avant-garde, but we will be heavily entrenched in the future. But like I said, we're just starting to look at it, so all of that could change.
Okay.
So one of the things I really want to look at is the navigation bar, because I don't like the way our navigation bar is designed.
I agree with you. I just, like Gannett did all their, or they did many of their papers the same way. And I don't think they got the navigation perfect. From a user standpoint, I think that we shouldn't model exactly on that.
And navigation is something we'll be looking at closely because it drives so much traffic.
Yes.
And you know, one thing, and I'm just going to quickly show you guys this, but one thing I've been studying to see kind of how users use our site is we installed heat maps on 5 pages. And so this is the sports page, and this lets of where people click while they're on there. And so, and I didn't scroll all the way down here, but people on sports, they click here and they click on high school. And so the fact that we have high school down so far is terrible. And so we're studying these heat maps on quite a few pages to see where people click to try to make some really good decisions about placement moving forward. But there's a lot of work to do. Nothing is set in stone, nothing is.
I just, from a user perspective, navigation is something if you do wrong, you kind of stuck with
Screw
it.
yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a question? No? All right. So, couple things. If you haven't signed in, make sure you sign in. We are keeping track, and we have shirts.
Oh,